They tried to stop you. They used words to hurt you, lies to destroy you, and situations to weaken you. They planned, conspired, and rejoiced in seeing you fall. But what they didn't realize was that while they were scheming your downfall, God was working to lift you up. Life has moments when it feels like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. You've felt the pain of being wronged, watched people who were supposed to support you turn their backs. Yet something inside you wouldn't let you give up. No matter how hard the world tried to dim your light, your flame kept burning. Maybe you've even asked yourself, why is this happening to me? Where is God in this moment? The answer is simple and powerful. He was by your side the entire time, holding you, strengthening you, preparing you. The pain that seemed unbearable was the necessary training for you to become who you are today. God knew the purpose in your life was too great for you to settle for the ordinary. That's why He allowed you to face the extraordinary. Every tear you shed, every struggle you endured were ingredients of a divine preparation. They tried to break you, but God was molding you. They wanted you to fail, but God had a bigger plan. And that plan doesn't just involve your victory, but also transforming your pain into a testimony, capable of inspiring and strengthening others. Now think, was all of this just a coincidence? Are you here hearing these words by mere chance? God doesn't work with coincidences. He brought you here to remind you that even when everything seemed lost, He never abandoned you. The battle that seemed endless was merely the training ground. For the purpose He reserved for you, today you are stronger than ever before. You are here because God wanted you to see the result of your effort and faith. The fall your enemies so eagerly awaited never happened. On the contrary, you rose stronger, more prepared, and with a heart more connected to God. You are not alone. Many face similar battles, feeling like the world is trying to bring them down. But here is the truth God wants you to know. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Your strength doesn't just come from your determination, but from the God who fights for you. This message is a reminder that you are chosen, that your story matters, and that even in the midst of the worst storms, God is using it all for your good. So lift your head and move forward. You are not what they did to you. You are what God did within you. Have you ever faced situations where it felt like everything was against you? Moments when those who were supposed to be by your side were the first to attack you? The pain of betrayal, the weight of cruel words, and the feeling that your efforts were never enough were constants in your life. They not only tried to stop you, but they did everything to extinguish your light. People spread lies about you, distorted your story, and judged you without knowing your heart. Some went so far as to find ways to isolate you and make you doubt yourself. Your friendships were tested, your reputation was tarnished, and often you were left alone, wondering what you did to deserve so much suffering. The truth is, they saw something in you that scared them, your strength, your faith, your brilliance. And instead of drawing inspiration from you, they chose to destroy what they couldn't understand. What you faced wasn't just the result of misunderstandings or personal conflicts, it was a spiritual battle. The enemy knew that if you stayed strong, you would achieve great things. He knew your purpose was greater than what the eyes could see, so he used people and situations to target you. Words became weapons, contemptuous looks became darts, and calculated actions were attempts to make you give up. Remember all the times you felt small, afraid, incapable of moving forward. Think about the moments when doubt crept into your heart, making you question your worth and even whether God saw everything happening. Those nights of tears and silent prayers seemed endless. But while you weathered that storm, they carried on. They fed off your pain. They laughed in silence, confident that their plan was working. They thought they were in control of the situation. When you tried to rise, they pulled you back down. They created narratives to paint you as the villain, drove people away from you, and yet it still wasn't enough. Because what they didn't understand is that the strength that keeps you standing doesn't come from the world. It comes from God. They didn't know that while you seemed to be falling, God was actually lifting you in ways they could never imagine. You were the target of envy, attacks, and manipulation. They tried to trap you in feelings of guilt, pain, and frustration. They created a scenario where you were supposed to be the defeated one, but God had other plans. What they didn't realize was that their very plan would be used to strengthen you. Even so, you weren't spared from the suffering, and it's important to acknowledge this. The pain was real. The tears you shed were many. The sense of helplessness overwhelmed you at times. Yet in the midst of it all, something within you refused to give in. Something told you to keep going, to not give up. That something was God sustaining you. He was molding you, using what seemed like the end to lead you to a new beginning. The people around you may not have understood, but God saw every detail. He knew the purpose He has for your life would require a stronger heart, firmer faith, and unwavering determination. Now, as you look back, you realize the pain wasn't in vain. But in those dark moments, it felt impossible to see that. You felt like you were in the middle of a desert, without strength, without direction. Loneliness was like a shadow that followed you. However, even in the darkest hours, God was with you. He never took His eyes off you. He heard your prayers, even the silent ones you didn't know how to voice. He saw your struggle, your resilience, and used all of it to transform you. You faced the worst the world could throw at you. But make no mistake, that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. In every battle you fought, a greater purpose was being revealed. What seemed like a series of defeats and pain was actually God's plan in motion. He never let you endure more than you could handle, because He knew that what was being forged in you was stronger than what the world tried to destroy. God uses adversity to shape His children. Just as gold is refined by fire, you were placed in situations that burned, that hurt, but that removed everything that wasn't part of His plan for your life. What you went through wasn't meant to destroy you, but to prepare you. The Word of God says in Romans 8:28, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse reminds us that nothing is wasted in God's kingdom. Every tear, every struggle, every betrayal was used for your good. Even when you couldn't understand why, God was working behind the scenes, aligning events so you would emerge from this journey stronger, more prepared, and closer to Him. If you look at your life as a great work of art, you'll notice that the darkest colors, representing your moments of greatest pain, are the ones that provide contrast and highlight the most beautiful details of the painting. God never let go of your hand, even when it seemed like everything was lost. You were chosen for something great, and because of that, your path couldn't be ordinary. The obstacles you faced were necessary to equip you. God knew that to fulfill your purpose, you would need resilience, unshakable faith, and a heart shaped by trust in Him. Looking at biblical examples, we see that God often used trials to strengthen those He called. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned, but all of it prepared him to become governor of Egypt and save many lives. Just like Joseph, what seemed like a time of destruction in your life was actually a period of construction. Remember, God doesn't waste a single moment of your story. He takes the broken pieces, the open wounds, and turns them into a powerful testimony. While you faced rejection, betrayal, and lies, He was teaching you invaluable lessons: trust, patience, and the strength to rely solely on Him. The enemy tried to use difficulties to make you give up, but God turned those situations around to help you grow. He saw your suffering and heard every prayer. Even when it seemed like heaven was silent, He was there, caring for you and working in your life. God doesn't just allow you to face battles, He also equips you with the tools to win them. The pain you endured transformed into wisdom. The rejection became courage. And now you are living proof that what the enemy intended for harm, God used for good. After everything you've been through, it might be hard to believe there's still a purpose, a solution, or even hope. But it's precisely in the moments when we feel the weakest that God reveals His strength. He not only saw your pain, but is also ready to take you to a new level of victory. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah 40:31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." This promise is for you. God doesn't just want to restore what was broken. He wants to help you soar higher than you ever imagined. He knows exactly what you need, and more importantly, when you need it. His timing is perfect, and everything He allowed in your life was to prepare you for this moment. Now is the time to renew your mind, open your heart, and allow God to show you what's ahead. He has already begun turning your pain into a testimony. What once brought tears will now bring joy. He is bringing the right connections, opening doors that were closed, and leading you down paths only He could design. But there is one thing God asks of you: trust. Trust that He is in control. Trust that even when it doesn't make sense, He is working. Your faith moves mountains, transforms circumstances, and leads you to victory. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you. He has something extraordinary in store, something your eyes haven't seen and your ears haven't heard. And as you remain steadfast, He is strengthening every area of your life. Write this truth in your heart and in the comments. I hope in the Lord and renew my strength. This is the declaration you need to make today. By saying this, you are telling the world, the enemy, and yourself that your trust is in the God who never fails. And remember, you are not alone. Others are also facing struggles. And by declaring this phrase in the comments, you become an instrument of encouragement for those in need. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph declared to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." This statement by Joseph is a powerful reminder of how God can use even the hardest situations to fulfill His purposes. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and forgotten in prison. For years, it seemed like everything was lost, that his life would be nothing more than a series of failures and pain. Yet, God was orchestrating every detail, turning every fall into a step towards something greater. Like Joseph, you have faced moments of betrayal, abandonment, and injustice. People around you have tried to bring you down, plotted harm against you, and may have even taken joy in your pain. But God saw everything. He not only witnessed what was happening, but also worked behind the scenes to turn it all into something magnificent. What Joseph experienced is the same principle that governs the lives of the chosen. What seemed destined to destroy you will become the platform God uses to exalt you. The enemy's plans never have the final say. God specializes in turning the tables, using the darkest moments as a stage for the greatest victories. Look at your life and see how each struggle has shaped you. Maybe at the time, you couldn't understand why you had to endure so much pain. But today, as you reflect, you can see that God was using every situation to prepare you. He turned what was meant for harm into good, not just to bless you, but so that your story could impact and inspire others. Like Joseph, you are a vital piece in God's plan. Your life has purpose, and what was meant to harm you will be used for good. Now is the time to reflect on everything you've been through. All the pain, struggles, and challenges you faced were not in vain. God was preparing you, shaping your character, and strengthening your faith. But He didn't do it just for your benefit. He wants your story to be a beacon of hope for others. Today, you have the opportunity to make a difference. Don't keep this wisdom to yourself. Share your Journey, inspire others, and show that even in adversity, God is present, working for the good of those who love Him. In the comments, write this declaration of faith and victory. What was meant for harm, God turned into good. This phrase is not just a statement. It's a testimony of what God is doing and will continue to do in your life. By writing this, you reaffirm your trust in God and encourage others who are also facing battles. Additionally, share this message with someone who needs a reminder that God is in control. There are people around you who feel lost, discouraged, and in need of hope. Be the instrument God uses to reach those lives. Finally, take a moment to pray. Thank God for the strength He has given you. Ask Him for wisdom to keep moving forward and trust to walk in the purpose He has for you. God is with you, and the best is yet to come. Will you accept this invitation? Write, share, pray. Be the living proof that with God, no weapon formed against us will prosper.